Namaste, everyone. Namaste. So great to be here. Mandy and I were just taking 5 deep breaths. We get a prompt when we're about to go online that says 5 deep breaths. And we kind of feel like we need 5 deep breaths because we're kind of going out on a limb here today, talking about something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. So a lot of people love to talk about sex, right? Everybody wants to talk about sex. Sex sells the world. We know this. I don't care. You can debate this for as long as you like. Sex sells. But what most people don't want to talk about is intimacy. Intimacy. Into you, I see me. Intimacy. And so what we're going to talk about with Mandy, my friend and Tantric coach, which she's going to explain what that means. What we're going to be talking about today is how to use meditation, mindfulness, and relaxation as a doorway, as a pathway, not just to sex, but to intimacy, to true connection with your partner, with the person that you love the most. And when you have that true 100% body, mind, soul connection experience through the act of making love, when you're actually really present with each other, it takes your relationship to another level. And so, as you know, these webinars are all about how can we up level every area of our life, whether it's our health, whether it's our prosperity consciousness, whether it's finding our purpose and passion. And today just happens to be sexual intimacy. How can we use some tools, some ancient tools from the tradition of Tantra, which we will talk about a little bit more, to help us to get to that deeper place of intimacy and ultimately satisfaction and fulfillment with our own beings and with our partners. So I'm super excited to be here today with my dear friend Mandy. We'll get into a background, Mandy's background, how we met, why we're here, and all of that, and go through the experience. But let's meditate first. Why not, right? So just a quick, brief meditation. You know I always start my webinars this way, just to bring us exactly what we're going to be talking about right now, right? To bring us into this moment. So if you have oils, please feel free to put a little bit into your palm. If you don't worry. Thank you. There you go. This is bergamot, and bergamot is just a beautiful, uplifting, essential oil. Good, and it smells delicious, and it really brings you into this moment. So whether you have oils or not, just rub your hands together vigorously. Feel that mind-body connection. I'm feeling my palms rubbing together. My mind is connecting to that action. I'm starting to feel sensation, the sensation of the heat. And if you have oils, you're starting to smell. Another beautiful one of our senses, smelling the essential oils. Good. And then you're starting to breathe a little bit more deeply. So right away, just by this action of rubbing the hands together, you're making a mind, body, soul connection through the vehicle of your breath. So speed it up a little bit more for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you have oils, you can just gently cup them in front of your nose without touching your face. If you don't, please bring your hands to your heart. Maybe you can feel your heart beating. Good. Sit up nice and tall. So if you're on the ground, just allow your sits bones to spread wide. If you're in a chair, press your lower back into the chair. Bring your feet uncrossed and flat onto the ground, shoulders away from your ears. And wherever you are, just feel the crown of your head being pulled like a magnet up to the ceiling or to out above to the vast blue sky. Beautiful. Let's center with 3 deep breaths. Breathing in through your nose, just feeling the breath, filling the belly, drawing the breath up into your collarbones, holding the breath in, and then like pouring wine out of a bottle, exhale through the nose, emptying your body of breath. 2 more slow deep breaths like this, breathing in the nectar of your breath, breathing in this life force, this prana into your body, holding it and just feeling your fullness, and then slowly letting the breath pour out, taking away anything that's distracting you or keeping you away from this beautiful moment together. One more time, deep breath in, into your body, let it fill up, feel your spaciousness, your expansiveness, and then slowly exhale and release. Good, just take a couple more moments here. Moving from awareness of the breath, please bring your awareness now to your ears, to your hearing. And just open your ears and listen to the sounds around you. The sounds of a child walking into your door mid-webinar. The sound of your own breath. Maybe you can hear more distant sounds of birds, crickets, cars passing, people talking. Just being aware of the sensation in your ears of sound. Listening deeply for sound. Beautiful. Take another breath in and exhale completely. And then moving from sound, let's go a little bit deeper and be aware of the sensation of your skin. Yes, the surface of your body, the largest organ of your body. Just feel your skin. Feel the skin on your left forearm, the left back of your neck, between your eyebrows. Feel the skin at your throat, in the middle of your back, in your heart, or on top of your heart. Feel the skin on the sole of your left foot, the palm of your right hand. No judging or labeling, just feel skin, the sensation of skin on your body. And then inhale deeply and exhale, and let's go a little deeper, moving from sound to skin, to observing your thoughts. Imagine your mind is like a giant TV screen, and you're just observing the thoughts as they pass randomly across the screen of your mind. Try not to judge or label or get involved in any thought, but simply be an observer. Find that beautiful place inside of you that's simply sitting, maybe with a little amusement, observing your thoughts. And then take one more step to the deepest part of you, moving from sound and skin to observing your thoughts, to just being in that place of the witness, just being that part of you that was observing thought, that was feeling skin, that was hearing sound. This is your soul. This is your Atman, your deepest part of you. Just allow yourself to rest in that being center for a few breaths. Just being. In this moment without any judging or labeling or thinking you have to be doing anything else or being anywhere else or anyone else. Just being here in this moment with your body and your breath. Feel the fullness and the magnitude of just being. One more breath. Exhale it out. And on your inhale, please drop chin to chest, head to heart. Bring your hands together in prayer. Good. And on the inhale, please lift your head up and namaste, namaste, namaste to all of you. I'd love to hear how you feel from that little brief meditation, just taking us out of our heads where we normally reside. We're always up here, and into our hearts so we can really be here together in this field of unified consciousness, wherever you are joining us, all 120 odd of you around the world. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Good. So how did I meet this beautiful woman? I met Mandy, so I had a yoga retreat back in the day when we had live yoga retreats. So last year, wasn't it? Yes. In October of 2019. So last October, I do an annual yoga meditation and self-care retreat in Treasure Beach, Jamaica. And I think I had one more spot left, and out of the blue, I got this email or this notice. I don't remember how you came, but from this beautiful girl called Mandy. Mandy, last name Sphurana, as in spur of the moment. Sphurana. Oh my God, they all know me with the last names. They know I'm terrible. But that's because she confused me because her Jamaican name is really Mandy Bent. But Sphurana, spur of the moment, which also means surprise is her spiritual name. And so Mandy came to my yoga retreat and she had such a beautiful inner glow and peace and calm about her. It was one of those people I was absolutely so curious to know more about. And of course we became friends and started to meet up and see each other and discover a bit more about Mandy. She was very quiet about what she did at first, a little bit guarded. And it was only later to discover that we are actually sisters from the same school of yoga, but just in different paths. So I don't know if I've even shared with you that one of my primary teachers is Rod Stryker. He's amazing. Look him up. Rod Stryker, Stryker. And he teaches Tantric yoga from the tradition, one of the most ancient traditions of yoga, of which there is incredible teachings and structure and methodologies to creating a life of fulfillment. Tantric sex or intimacy is just one part of that big umbrella of Tantra, and so happens to be the path that Mandy is exploring and is teaching and coaching and sharing with the world, which is something I find very, very brave and ennobling, and so something to celebrate, because as I said earlier, anytime sex sells, right? You want to talk about sex, everybody wants to talk about sex. Everybody wants to look at sex. Sex sells everything. But intimacy is not sex. Intimacy is something, sex can bring you intimacy, but intimacy is something that I think is absolutely vital to our well-being. So there was a wonderful man I used to know in Jamaica. He was a doctor here. And we had a discussion one day and he said, there are three things that human beings need to feel happy. And they were privacy. So interesting. Think about it though. Privacy, intimacy, and job satisfaction. Privacy, intimacy, and job satisfaction. And those things stuck with me for a long, long time. And I always put them up on the top of my list, right? To remember that intimacy is so vital in your relationship. And it doesn't have to be your relationship with your partner or sexual intimacy. Intimacy with other beings, friendships, people that you can communicate with, people who are part of your community, your tribe, your vibe, is just so incredibly important, and more so than ever is it important. And so is privacy. So is having the ability to be who you are in your own space without judging or labeling. And sometimes when you grow up on a small island, that's not easy, right? Privacy is hard to find. When you have a big family, privacy is hard to find, So having those moments that are just for you, or just for you and your husband, or just for you and your husband and your children, having this intimate container and special sort of bubble that just is privately yours and your family's is so important. And of course, job satisfaction, fulfillment in what you do, finding what your unique talents are and bringing them forth into the world. And so before we get into all the juicy stuff, I just wanted to hear from Mandy, You know, I know this story, but I want her to share this with you. Like, how did you find your way at the age of
right now,
yeah,
or when I
no,
39.
39,
Yeah.
39 young. How did you find the way to calling yourself now a tantric coach? Is that how you call
A
yourself?
tantric coach, a tantric teacher.
A tantric coach or tantric teacher. How did you, as a Jamaican girl, find in a pretty sexually repressed culture, find your way to being a tantric coach or a sexual coach?
Well, a key part of that is leaving.
Sometimes you gotta go away.
And I was living I left Jamaica 18 years ago, and I was living in Abu Dhabi in the Middle East for 9 years. During that time, I had what one would call a lucrative corporate career. But I really just was not happy. You know, I felt like I needed something else in life. I needed to come into my purpose in some way. And so I did a very crazy thing. I quit.
Quit our jobs. Heard this story before.
And I decided to take a year off to find out what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. And at the time, I was already a Reiki master. I was already practicing meditation, and I thought I really had it all figured out as far as spirituality. I just need to find a way, you know, to work with people one-on-one. And somehow it didn't feel like Reiki. It didn't feel like teaching mindfulness. It felt like something else.
Right.
So when I quit, I went, my first stop was to go to India. And I meant to do a art therapist training because I was painting a lot at the time, and I thought maybe I'd be an art therapist. Okay. And I was going to explore many things during this year.
How old were you when you're doing this kind of journey for self?
I was maybe 35.
35. You see?
35.
Don't think it's ever too late to go into a journey of yourself, right? Your self-discovery. Like, you can do this at 16, 21, 35, and at 55, all right? And life is always unfolding.
Yeah, I think 35 is young to be doing it. People start when they're 55, you know, and have a great time with it, you know. So at 34, 35, 2014. So the first stop was to this ashram, and I was doing my 21-day art therapist training, and 7 days in, I heard about a Tantra retreat. And I was very confused. I'm like, but this is an ashram, a spiritual place. How comes they have like a sex thing going? Because all I knew about Tantra at the time was something about sex. Right. And so I heard that actually Tantra means to weave in the sexual and the spiritual together. And this really kind of intrigued me, and I felt like I just needed to learn more. So I dropped out of the training, the art therapist thing.
I didn't know that. Okay. That was too boring for you. And you went next door to the Tantric training.
To the Tantra retreat. So my first experience with Tantra, I know that a lot of people who have come to my workshops, their first experience with Tantra was maybe a 3-hour workshop with me, and their mind is blown, you know. But for me, my first experience with Tantra was 6 days full on, involving nudity, you know, so really pushing boundaries, you know, where I really had to see myself in the barest way. And I don't mean physically, I really mean emotionally, because the whole point of that Tantra training was as therapy. It was a Tantra training with therapy as a background, really coming towards our wounds and our shame, especially with our body, and feeling, you know, like we're not good enough physically, and we have a problem with this, we have a problem with that. And so it really shifted a whole lot.
Like a rebirth.
It was like a rebirth. You know, I say it all the time, the Mandy that went into that training was not the Mandy that came out.
Okay.
And I don't even recall who I was before. It's like really magic happened, alchemy happened for me in there.
Okay.
And what I realized is that there is something missing on the spiritual path if sexuality is not included, because it is such a huge part of who we are.
As humans.
As humans, we're all sexual beings, you know. Every living thing is here only because of sexual energy.
What people are saying. You keep talking.
Yeah. So I continued my path. My 1 year actually turned into 3 years, where I did full on everything that I could find about spirituality, healing, self development, everything. You name it, I did it. And some things that you can't even name, I did it as well. and what stood out to me the most was Tantra.
So I kept circling back to that.
It kept on coming back to Tantra. Mm-hmm. In that time, I did numerous Tantra teacher trainings, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to teach yet. I just loved it so much, I needed to be in it fully. And at the end, I decided to come home and teach. And it's been a fulfilling experience, because I noticed that the Tantra doesn't really exist in Jamaica. I don't know of any other Tantra organization. I came and I started Jamaica Tantra. And I've been teaching women and couples how to really come home to themselves in a way that can't really be taught by other methods, because the sexuality point isn't there. So we need all forms of spirituality. We need yoga, we need energy healing, we need Reiki, and all of this does something for us as human beings. But we also need the sexuality, and that's what I do. Even though Tantra isn't only about sex, Tantra is actually about life, but it is inclusive of sex and really teaches a lot how to embody your sexuality and how to make all of life an ecstasy.
Oh, yeah, it sounds good to me. It sounds good to me. You know, so many of us are struggle with intimacy. You know, I find especially women, things may look absolutely lovely on the outside, you know, but at the end of the day, when you are juggling children, when you're juggling work life, when you're juggling COVID, when you're juggling the fear, the worry, the anxiety, you get into bed at night, you know, and you just kind of, your brain can't shut off in order for you to get into your physical body to kind of surrender. Because we did speak about Tantra earlier, it's like this surrendering and surrender into the gift of sexual intimacy, which actually is a healing modality, you know. Mm-hmm. So I just think that a lot of us are suffering from that deep sexual intimacy because we're just so damn tired, number one. And number two, we don't have the tools, right, to able to take us out of this and into the body in order to really feel those feelings, to make them come alive, because they're always there. Mm-hmm. It's just it's what my teacher always says: where your attention goes, there your energy flows. Like if you're putting your attention up here on your shopping list, there's no way you're going to have an orgasm, right? Or you can fake it, but you're not going to make it, you know. And there's nothing more beautiful than that sort of deep, heartfelt connection. So tell me, how does a very stressed out woman come out of this and get into her sexuality and her sensuality in order to have that real intimacy? How do you do that?
Well, you know what, Sharon, I think this is not just something for very stressed out people. I think it is something for everybody, because, you know, we live in the mind. We don't really live in the feeling space of the body, even more when you're stressed out.
Yes.
You know? But, you know, Tantra is an art that is so very gentle and so very easy to move into. A lot of people think that because it deals with sexuality, what we actually teach is sex. That's not true. What we teach is meditation, you know, and using tantric meditations and tantric practices to learn how to move from the mind and into the body. As we all know, meditation is mostly about calming the mind somehow, because this is a very busy place, and we live here, we're thinking about this, we're thinking about that, we're off somewhere else. We're very rarely in the present moment, and we're very rarely in the body. So tantric meditations, it uses a little bit of a trick, and the trick is that you can't think and feel at the same time. You can't think and feel at the same time. The brain doesn't work like that. So instead of trying to just shut off the mind and find a silent space, which is quite difficult, and a lot of people struggle with that, Tantra gives you an opportunity to move into the senses and to use your senses as a meditation technique. So, for instance, let me just give a little example. Let's do a little trial thing. All right, so everybody settle into a nice seated position where you can be comfortable for a moment. Allow the eyes to close. And just take a couple deep breaths. And as you're taking those deep breaths, be a witness to the air, the feeling of the air entering your lungs. You feel it passing through your throat. If you want to open your mouth, you'll feel it over your tongue. And bring all of your awareness to the little finger on your left hand. And you don't need to move it. Just feel. Just feel it. As if the rest of your body, as if nothing else exists. You are your little finger on your left hand. Notice the feeling of life moving around in that little finger. Notice the temperature of the skin. Notice the weight of that finger as it rests wherever it is. It's going into a state of experiencing through feeling what that little finger is for you right now. And taking a deep breath, and when you're ready, fluttering your eyes open. Okay. So thank you for joining me in my little finger exercise meditation.
Mine was actually jumping. It was making noise. It was like moving. I'm like, be quiet. Yeah.
So a lot of people notice these things when it is that they go to the body, that, oh, the finger is jumping, or actually there is some pain here, or, you know, it's uncomfortable the way it is, or, you know, and we always had this finger. The finger was always there, but we weren't feeling it. And while we were feeling it, something shut off in the brain, and we went to the present moment through the finger. So Tantra brings you to the present moment through your body. So let me ask you this. If you weren't really feeling your little finger a while ago, when you're making love, are you actually feeling your yoni? Yoni is the vagina. It's
by the way.
Are you actually feeling your yoni, or are you thinking? Most of the time we're thinking. And it's actually possible. And you may say, not really, because I had an orgasm, so that must mean that I was feeling. That's not really so. Orgasm is actually possible through the mind. You know, the body responds to the types of thoughts that we have. I mean, if you see a hot girl or a hot guy passing, you know, and you're really, you know, like take them in and give them a good look, your body will respond, you know. You can have an orgasm in your dreams without your body being touched at all. So a lot of the times when we are connecting with our beloved sexually, we're not actually there. and we're not actually feeling. And if it is that we're experiencing pleasure, we're doing so through the mind. You know,
Right.
we're doing so through visualizing something or
Fantasizing.
you know, especially if you watch a lot of porn. If you watch a lot of porn, you really, really are having the experience in the mind. And this is like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with porn. There's nothing wrong with it. But it trains your mind to work a bit differently. That kind of does you a disservice when it comes to actual physical connection, because you learn to experience things in the mind in a big way, and it's difficult to step out. So Tantra is a really great portal to give you the opportunity to come back to the body and to let go of the mind. So there are a couple tantric practices that you wouldn't believe that they're tantric practices, because I'm sure you're thinking this is all about sex. There are a couple of tantric practices that I can recommend to you that would really help you to move from the mind to the body, and they're super simple. And the thing about Tantra is, as I said, it makes all of life ecstasy. It makes all of life orgasmic. And if you are in the present moment and really experiencing things from the body, you will notice that there's so much to experience.
That's why, you know, the practice of yoga is the, you know, to help you to come out of the mind, the thinking center, into the body, which we call the feeling center, where you are aware of sensations, these subtle currents of energy that are happening in your body, your heart beating, your lungs breathing, the sweat dripping, you know, the clarity in your mind versus the disparity. And so the ultimate is to drop out of the mind thinking center into the body, because that body part, that sensation, is a portal or the doorway to the soul. So are you talking about the same thing, like just dropping